Hello everybody, I'm Artillery J, and welcome to another First Impressions video. This one is a little bit different, guys, because I pre-recorded this and I'm recording the voice over top of it. And this is more of a few clips from my playthrough. I have been playing the game for quite a while, played it all weekend, and I'm recording this Monday morning. The game, for me, has been a ton of fun. I'm not including the actual background audio either. I've included some music from Duke of Minecraft or Luke Solomon, whatever name he's going by. I'll provide a link down in the description to his channel and his SoundCloud. He makes a lot of really cool music. Go check him out. I'm not getting paid anything to promo him or give him a shout out or anything. I just really like his music, and he was cool enough to let me use it, so go check him out. And that's enough for that little plug. Anyway, back to the game. So yeah, I've been hearing a lot of people talk about how this is basically Fallout in space, and I think that is disingenuous at the very least. This game is really, it's what Fallout should be, and it's not. It hasn't been for a long time. If Obsidian had kept making Fallout after New Vegas, and they would have been in charge of things, this is probably where Fallout would be contextually. Maybe not the exact story and gameplay, because, I mean, again, this takes place in space, but if Obsidian had held the reins for that series, then it would be a lot similar to this, I think. And it's a shame that Fallout has gone the way that it has, because if it had gone this direction, it would be probably the best game out there right now. Hands down. I absolutely love this game. There's quite a few reasons why I enjoyed it so much, and I'm going to touch on those each. And I've got an hour's worth of footage here, so I don't know if I'm going to use all of it, but I might, because there's a lot to talk about. So, first of all, let's take a look at this world right here. You've got all of these bright colors. You've got all of these amazing effects. Enemies that are varied. I haven't been through the whole game, but there's quite a bit of variety with the enemies. They do kind of get a little bit stale from planet to planet. Like, this planet has a lot of marauders, a lot of these robot dudes, and then it's got a couple of different like monsters that are unique to this planet, which is fine. But when you've been running around and questing on the same planet for a while, they do kind of get a little bit old. I was trying to get up on the roof right there. I could not do it. Anyway, there are these barrels right there that I just pointed at that you can shoot and explode and damage enemies with, and so those are helpful. There is a huge variety of weapons and armor. Different weapons and armor provide different bonuses to your character. So you might get a piece of armor that provides you +5 to tech skills. So that allows you to do anything tech related a little bit better, a little bit easier. +5 to sneak, or -5 to sneak. There is a piece of armor that's is a heavy piece of armor, and it hurts your sneak. So there's that too. One of the cool things I think about this game, graphic-wise, because I had mentioned how beautiful the world was, is the use of light and shadow. It's really well done. If there's a way to use a flashlight in this game, I haven't found it yet, and if there is, I don't think that I would use it at this point, because I've really enjoyed the look of the game without it. And what I mean by that is, when you go into a room that's relatively dark, the shadows on everything kind of like play tricks on your eyes a little bit. There were a couple of times that I thought I saw an enemy lurking in a corner, and there wasn't actually anything there. It's just how the shadows and lights were playing with the objects in the room. So just something to bear in mind, I guess. You got these cool loading screens right here. Each time you go into an area and it loads, it pops up one of these little advertisements for the companies in the game. They're not advertisements for you to actually buy anything, like with real world money. It's more for the story of the game. Speaking of the story of the game, that is probably hands down my favorite part. The story, the main storyline on the main campaign is really, really well written and really well done. And that's something that games like Fallout 4, Fallout 76 have been lacking, and lacking massively. It's something that was really well done in Fallout New Vegas, and that shows where that came from, was from Obsidian and their ability to tell a story really well. And of all the companies that make Western RPG style games, such as the Fallout games and Skyrim or Elder Scrolls series, I guess it would be, stuff like that, I would say that Obsidian is the leader as far as that goes with story, because they can craft a really interesting story. They've got this world that is like consumerism at its highest possible peak. Companies own everything and everyone in this universe, and they make light of it. They make it, it's a joke in a way, but it's also really serious, and it gets really dark. And in the main storyline, you can get different endings. I don't want to give any spoilers or anything, but you can get different endings based on who you side with, just like in Fallout and Elder Scrolls and all that type of stuff. But the way that these stories are written really tells to the companies and the developers' ability to see what gamers want out of an RPG and actually listen and provide it. And that, to me, goes a long, long way in selling me a game. And I really wish that this is something that Bethesda would have focused on, but we're not here to really talk about Bethesda, but we kind of are. We kind of are, because both of those companies have held the Fallout title, and we can see through this game which of those two companies actually care about the games that they put out, the stories that they put out, the products that they put out. I have yet to find, and I'll come back to this again here in a little bit, but I've yet to find bugs in this game at all, which is a really nice change, especially when you've got games that come out and they're still fixing bugs, over a decade later. And it shouldn't be like that, guys. It definitely should not be like that. We shouldn't be paying for a product that doesn't work right when it's released, especially for a product that doesn't work right 10 years later. It's absolutely absurd. At any rate, I'll come back to that later. I do want to focus a little bit more on the story, because this here is one of the main quest story things that's playing in the background right now. But there are side quests that you get just like any other RPG, and the side quests themselves are so in-depth and intriguing that I found myself falling in love with characters and hating characters, and you don't get that nowadays in games. It feels like I find myself not really caring about characters a lot, and in this game I did. My companion, who's with me right now, your companions have quests that you can do for them. I am in love with this woman, and it's not like a sexual-based love or anything like that. I'm in love with her character. her personality, just everything about her just really speaks to me. And I worked hard to develop her character, because you can do that. You can, the side character or your companions have their own character arcs, and you can develop them as characters if you do their quests and based on the responses that you give them. She went from being really timid and kind of cowardly and just kind of unsure of herself to being a strong and confident character. That being said, there's other characters that like you start off really despising, at least for me, and then by the end of their storyline, once you've gone through their quests and stuff, you feel a lot differently for them. And I don't want to give any, like I said, I don't want to give any spoilers, so I'm not really going to speak too much more on the story, because that can spoil it for you. But the character arcs in this game are really well written and very impressive, and I've found myself immersed in the story so many times that I can't even begin to explain it to you, other than to say that the first day that I played this game, I started playing it. It was about 7 p.m. and I was just playing, wasn't really paying attention to anything, and started thinking, man, I should probably get some dinner. It's got to be like 9 o'clock by now. And I looked at the clock and it was 4 in the morning, and hours had elapsed without me even realizing it. And so, yeah, that's been pretty much every night this weekend has been me just like sucked into this game and just into this story, and I couldn't have been happier. Who needs food when you got a good, compelling story? So, anyway, let's talk a little bit about the weapons and armor in the game a little bit more. So you've got different types of weapons, and you can build up the skills that go into using those weapons. So you've got long guns, you've got handguns, you've got melee, you've got shotguns, you've got machine guns, you've got assault rifles, you've got handguns, you've got with the handguns you've got like the classic 9mm, and then you've got like a revolver, you've got plasma weapons, you've got plasma pistols and plasma rifles, grenade launchers, all kinds of stuff. And then with the melee you've got like shock batons, you've got axes, shovels, swords, all kinds of neat stuff there too, hammers and whatnot. I prefer personally to use long guns. Specifically, the Deadeye rifle is really, really good, especially if you power it up. Your weapons and armor you can modify at benches. And what I mean by this is you can go in, if you put a little bit of points into your science skill, you can actually go in and tinker. And when you tinker with something, you spend a little bit of your money, and that increases your damage output by that weapon, which is really cool, because you can go with just your basic rifle and you can tinker with it and get it up to, from a level 1 weapon up to, I don't know, I haven't maxed one out yet, but I'm dealing some massive damage, especially with the skills that I've got, and the perks that I've got. And we'll talk a little bit more about skills and perks here in a bit. But with the tinkering, you can also add mods to weapons and armor. And when you add mods, you add different things. Like, for instance, you can add a mod, I believe it's called Mag-Num, so it's like Magnum, and that increases your carrying capacity, or your ammunition capacity for that weapon quite drastically. There's another one that increases the range, so you can see farther through your scope and actually hit things farther than what you could normally. There are mods that increase your, like I said earlier, your sneak and your different skills. There's different mods to increase different skills, so they're all very helpful. There's a mod called Backpack that you can put on a piece of armor that increases your carrying capacity by 20 kilograms. So yeah, all kinds of cool mods that you can throw on your weapons and your armor to make life a little bit easier for you and customize your gear to fit you. And not just you, your companions as well, because your companions each wear a helmet and armor piece, just like you, and they can each carry a ranged and a melee weapon, whereas the player, you yourself, can carry 4 weapons of any type. It's not specified to melee or ranged, it's just 4 weapons. So, and that's in your quick slots, so 1, 2, 3, 4 keys control those. And when I say 1, 2, 3, 4 keys, that's on PC. I don't know what it is on console. I will tell you too that this game for PC, it's been on my Steam wishlist for quite a while, ever since it was announced pretty much. And it's still not available on Steam. I actually got it through the Epic Launcher, which is the only way to play it on PC, unfortunately. And you can get that at GameStop, or you can get it from, I think if you just Google search The Outer Worlds, you should be able to go to their page and buy it through there too. Or, you can go up to your local store and pick it up if you're a console player, pick up a copy and play it like that. So, at any rate, that is weapons and armor. I kind of went off of topic a little bit there, but I think that it's worth it to know that. Your screen right here, your I can't think of the name of it. Your basic inventory character screen is very well laid out. You've got your character, your inventory, journal map, and then after that you've got your companions, which you can have 2 companions with you at a time. And when you're on your ship and you've got your other companions staying on your ship, you'll be able to scroll through them as well, so you can manage their inventory as well as their levels, because your companions each have perks that you can use on them. Right there actually is the perk screen for that character, her body. And yeah, so they can each, it's every few levels that you level up, they will level as well, and then you can give them a new perk, which is pretty cool, because you can kind of customize their fighting style as well. Let's see. Let's talk about... Okay, so the perk system in the game, and the skills, I guess, is the next thing that we want to talk about. So, with your character, you have, as you saw before, your perk screen, and you can, every other level, I believe it's every even level, you get to pick another perk. And once you've completed 5 perks on the top tier, it unlocks the second tier. And then once 5 more perks have been selected, it unlocks the third tier, and then the 4th tier, and so on. And the perks range anywhere from increasing carrying capacity to allowing companions to recharge their special quicker, or improving vendor prices, or making headshots a lot better, or making it to where if you when you kill an enemy, your next hit is automatically a critical hit. Stuff like that. So the perks are very interesting and very well done, and they serve to complement your skills quite well. With the skills, you've got your base, I guess what in the Fallout world would be your special skills. So like you've got you've got mind, body, and personality. And then in each of those three, there's 2 specific skills. So like body is strength and endurance. Mind is intelligence, perception, and the personality is charisma and temperament. And those each control different skills. And then your skill tree, again, much like Fallout, because I don't have anything else to really compare it to, you've got stuff like your stealth, and then in stealth you've got 3 things, which is sneak, hack, and lockpick, I believe, are all in stealth. So those 3 are in there. You've got ranged weapons, and within ranged weapons is long guns, handguns, and I believe plasma guns. You've got melee, and then within melee is one-handed, two-handed. You've got I don't remember what it's called because I've never leveled it up, but it controls your ability to lead your companions. You've got another one that controls like the way that you interact with NPCs and stuff. So like it has your perception checks and stuff like that in it. So, or your charisma checks, I guess it would be. At any rate, those are your skills basically in a nutshell. But there's one other thing that is added into this game, and that is flaws. So the game tracks like what you do. For instance, I got blinded a couple of times by enemy attacks, and so it popped up on my screen. It said, basically, you really suck at not being blind. You're blinded all the time. So if you choose this flaw, basically it makes it to where you get blinded easier, but you get to choose a new perk. And that one's not a very good one. But there are other ones that are relatively beneficial. Like, if you don't really sneak much, you're not much of a stealth player, it might pop up and say, you get detected when you're sneaking an awful lot because you really, really suck at sneaking. You're garbage at it. So we're going to give you a -1 to your stealth checks, but you get to choose an extra perk. So you get an extra perk in exchange for being worse at something that you don't really use anyway. So that might be beneficial to you based on your playstyle. Stuff like that. So the flaws come in really handy if you use them right and if you use them properly, which is really cool. So that's basically everything that you need to know about your leveling and your character's stats, I guess. So the next thing I'd like to talk about is the audio in the game. Now, there's a couple of different things to be said about audio. There's actually 3 categories that I normally look at when I'm playing a game, and I'm trying to think of my pros and cons of the game, and when I'm reviewing it, there's things that I think of specifically, different categories, and one of those categories is sound. So when you're thinking about sound, the first thing that most people think of is your background music, and that one is really important. And in this game, I think that the background music really complements everything that is going on in the scenes. So like, each area has their own little music, and the music really helps to set the mood and helps to immerse the player into their surroundings, I guess is the best way to say it. And music's great. Music really works to set the mood in anything that is a mass media type thing. Video games, movies, television, stuff like that. So there are stories that I could tell you that I've read and that I've seen videos on, stuff like that. A perfect example is, I believe it was Halloween, when the first Halloween movie was released. They released it to the test audience with no background music added, because it hadn't been, it wasn't finished yet. And it tested so incredibly poorly. People hated it. They thought it was stupid. And John Carpenter went in and had the sound engineer add the music in, retested it, and people absolutely loved it. They lost their shit over it. It was just like, oh my god, this is the best horror movie I've... Excuse me. Oh my god, this is the best horror movie that I've ever seen, blah, blah, blah. Because the music, a lot of times, makes the movie. The music makes the video game because it sets the mood. And if you don't have the mood set, then people are not going to be really invested in what they're seeing. So, yeah, music, very important. The next category for audio that I look at is voice acting. And the voice acting in this game is so incredibly phenomenal. The actors' abilities to relay emotion into the characters was really well done, and I commend them on their talent, because a lot of people just can't do that. A perfect example of this, and I hate to keep going back to Bethesda games, but the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, where it sounded like a lot of times that the actors just didn't want to be there, they didn't care about it, and it really shows, I think. And then again, going back to Bethesda, they voice actors would make a mistake, and Bethesda, because they just didn't give a shit, left the mistake in the audio clip, and you can hear it. There is an example of that out there. You can look it up. I will try to remember to link it down in the description, but there's a video that I watched where they show that blatantly, that happened. So, but on the flip side, when we're talking about Bethesda, Fallout 76 had some really good voice acting in some of the in the little holotapes that you would find and listen to. There was some really good voice acting in there, and I was really impressed with it. But this game, all of it, so far that I've heard, all of the voice acting is really well done. Even just an NPC character that you talk to once and then, you never deal with them again. I pretty much remember every single person in this game that I've talked to because the voice acting was so well done. And it was really well written, and it made you care about the characters. From the very first NPC that you talk to, other than the doc at the beginning, the very first person that you talk to is this kid in a cave that is injured, and you talk to him. I will remember that guy through the entire game because it was really well written. When you get to the first town, there's this gravedigger that you talk to, and he gives you a quest, and he's really well written, and you care about his character, and you want to help him. You genuinely want to help him because the voice acting was so good, and the character was written well. The third and final thing that I look for in audio in a game is the sound effects. So like your footsteps, the sound of your weapons, the sounds of monsters when they're taking damage and yelling and stuff, and the sound that your character makes when you fall off of a high spot and twist your ankle or whatever, the sounds of doors opening and closing. All of those sounds come together really well in this game, and they're well done. They fit well. It's not just cheap stock footfall sounds like you get in a lot of games. When you're hovering over items in your menus, it makes a little sound. Just every little sound is put in there properly, and they all work. So that's pretty much it for the audio for the game. The audio overall was really well done and really impressive, and I enjoy it, especially the voice acting. The voice acting really makes the game, I think. So aside from audio, Other things that I look for is the lighting in the game, which I've already talked about. The story in the game, which I've already talked about. Game mechanics. So the game mechanics for this game are relatively simple. You use WASD to move, mouse to look around, just like most first-person shooter games. You use your right mouse button to aim, left mouse button to shoot. Your scroll wheel you can use to switch between your weapons, or you can use 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you tap Q, you go into what it's like a slow motion mode. It's kind of like VATS, or what VATS should be. And I'll touch on that a little bit more here in a second. But let's talk about the rest of the controls. Tab opens up your menu. Escape opens up your save menu, stuff like that. Save, exit the game, stuff and whatnot. And space to jump. And I think that's pretty much it. E to interact with things. F uses your medicine. And then you've got Z, X, and C that you can command your companion with, which I haven't really quite figured out how that works, but I haven't needed to. They're pretty self-sufficient, so it's not really too much to worry about there. I suppose that I could look it up, but I just can't be bothered. Anyway, with the Q key, your slow motion mode, something that I need to say about Fallout again is VATS. VATS is used because the combat system in the Fallout games is pretty much trash. It's not that good. It's just your basic run-of-the-mill first-person shooter game, and it's not even really a basic game. It's below average, to be honest. This game doesn't need to use that as a crutch. The combat system is really well done, and it works just on its own. It works really well. But this slow motion mode that you've got, and I can't think of the name of it offhand, but it is used to enhance it. Like, I played through the first half of the game without ever using it. Aside from the very first time that it popped up on my screen that I could use it. I used it to try it out. I liked it, but I didn't need it, to be honest, because I could go into this game and play it like it was a first-person shooter game. I could play it like it was Modern Warfare, or like it was Battlefield, or a game like that, because you don't need that ability. But it's there if you want to use it and you want to play around with it, which is kind of cool. Another thing to be said about the play style and your abilities and stuff is you can beat this game with any play style you like. If you like just running into combat and shooting shit, you can just run into combat and shoot shit through the whole game and beat the game just fine. If you like sneaking around and not getting in fights, you can pretty much sneak through the entire game and not get in any fights and still beat the game. So you can build a complete stealth character and play through the game just fine with a complete stealth build. That's not an issue. So that's really cool that you can play your own playstyle without worrying if you're going to be able to get through the game or not. Additionally, you can beat the game at a relatively low level. Like, you can beat the game at like level 19 pretty easily. And that's kind of impressive that you don't need to like just grind quests. I mean, you can just go through the basic main quest line and beat the game, and it's really not too difficult. That being said, I recommend going through and doing everything that you can, visiting all the different locations, interacting with all the different NPCs, because they're really well written. The areas are all really, really fucking interesting. I'm reading a terminal right now in this scene, and I'm captivated by what it's saying because it's interesting. the developers went through and they wrote actual interesting dialogue, even on terminals that you're just reading people's emails and crap. So, really well done, and I encourage you, if you are playing this game, to go through each location and actually read things and actually explore and actually have fun with the game and get sucked into it. Let it steal some of your time, because it's worth it. It's worth it to experience that story. Alright guys, I think that I've rambled on enough about this game, and let me know if you have the game, if you played it yet, what you think of it. If you haven't played it yet, are you planning to pick it up? Are you planning on getting it and giving it a shot? Do you want to see me play more of this game? Because I'm playing it anyway. I might just record some of it. I might do like a full playthrough. Just, if that's something that you'd like to see, let me know. But I will be doing my normal weekly review for this game. It'll be out tomorrow at jacegamereviews.com at about noon Eastern Standard Time is usually when I release those things. So go check that out tomorrow. I probably won't go too in-depth with the review this week, though, because I went pretty in-depth with this video. This video is over a half an hour long now. So, yeah, definitely check out the review tomorrow. Or don't. Totally up to you. I'm probably not going to say too much more in that than what I said here. Which isn't normal for those, because I intentionally make these videos typically a little bit shorter, and I don't really touch on what I like and don't like about it, because I like to take time to think about it. But that's what I kind of did when I recorded this video. I recorded playing, and I kept playing the game, and then I am recording this over top of the footage, because I wanted to give an honest opinion in a video, and kind of go in depth of what I thought about it, because this game I felt deserved that, because this is a AAA title that looks like it should be a AAA title, plays like it should be a AAA title, and is complete and not broken as AAA titles should be, which I haven't seen in a long time. Bethesda has kind of got it in our heads as gamers that games that are subpar are just the new standard, and Obsidian has proved with this game. They have shown us that isn't the standard anymore, and it never should have been the standard. We should not be putting up with that garbage. We need to hold these companies to a higher standard, because we are giving them our money, and if they can't provide us with products that are worth our money, then we should not be giving them our money. I personally don't plan to buy any more of Bethesda's games. That's me. I really hope that Obsidian makes another one of these games. I have heard people say, that they should make the next Fallout game, but I don't agree. I don't want them to sully their name with the Fallout series anymore, because they're so much better than that, and this proves it. It really does. The world building, the character development, everything about this game shows their level of commitment to their players and to their product. And I think that if they go back to the Fallout games, that everybody's just going to look at it like, oh, good, another Fallout game, and not an Obsidian game. So, I don't know. That's just my opinion. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? But head on over to the jacegamereviews.com tomorrow. Check out the review if you want. Otherwise, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments if you want to see more of it. And until then, take care of yourselves. Bye! Hey, what's up? Thanks for watching.